Joining us. All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from, folks. My name is Rachel Wilkins. I am the co-founder of Conception Arts, and I'm also an art business coach here every Wednesday to help you navigate the often confusing world of the art world and also art marketing. So we're here today to talk specifically about social media marketing, probably the area that I get asked the most questions about. So I'm going to be here for about 15 minutes. If you have any questions related to anything that I cover, do drop them into the comments and I will try to get to them at the end of the session. So I want to talk a little bit first about something that happened to me about 12 months ago or so. I just picked up my artwork again after kind of a long hiatus running Conception Arts. And I had started to kind of share on social media. And something happened. I'd shared a couple of works and I got this comment from somebody, from a total stranger. And the comment said, "Your art is nothing but cheap framed platitudes. You know nothing about art, dearie." That was a comment that was left on social media about my artwork from a complete stranger. And for a moment, it just totally took me down, right? It totally devastated me. I put my phone down and I kind of sat with this comment for a few minutes. And for a moment, I thought, well, maybe she's right. Maybe this woman is right. Maybe my art is garbage, cheap framed platitudes, as she put it. And after a few moments, I decided, okay, I'm going to go back, I'm going to pick up my phone, and I'm going to reread this comment. And I thought to myself, while this really, really is just a painful moment for me as an artist and as a human, I feel like that this is going to be a pivotal moment for me. One which I could either choose to go to ground and let this social media troll, let's be honest, let this social media troll take me to ground based on their comment, or it's going to be a moment where I can learn and I can grow and I can hopefully use it as a teaching moment to help you, right? To help my community of artists, which I support. So as much as I really did not want to give this essentially keyboard warrior, which is what she was, a troll, I didn't want to give her any attention. My curiosity got the better of me. And I clicked on her profile picture. And to my shock and dismay, I discovered that not only was this woman, this troll another artist, but it was also a woman, right? And that kind of really hit hard. It was a woman who was older than me. She was classically trained, and she was somebody who had been pretty privileged in her experience. She'd had a chance to work with some of the best teachers at some of the most, the finest art schools. And so at that point, my disappointment in the fact that this, total stranger had left this comment really just turned to disappointment. And I'm sharing this with you because the sad reality about social media now is that we live in an age where people feel that they can freely hurl abuse and anonymous insults at each other online without any consideration for the fact that there's a human being at the other end, and any consideration for the damage that their actions can have. Maybe I'm just giving people too much credit, but, I think some people just have that mean spirit and they know it's hurtful and they do it anyway. The thing is, the reason that I'm kind of sharing this with you and letting you know that this experience happened to me is because this is not something that we're seeing going away anytime soon. In my experience, the more visible that you are and the more kind of vulnerable you become in terms of putting your art out there, the more trolls are going to appear. We have a saying in the UK that the higher up the flagpole you are, the more people can see your underwear. And that is the most true statement ever. But I don't want that to impact how you move around the online space. I just want to make sure that you know that this happens to all of us. It happens to me on a weekly, if not sometimes daily basis, but it's okay. It's really up to us what we do with that information. So, it's hard not to feel impacted when someone comes at you with such venom as this total stranger did. But I just want to make sure that you know that it says much more about them than it does about you. It's nothing to do with you, with your experience, your skill level, your ability to express your ideas, your creativity, any of those things. It has everything to do with the person who is at the other end of that nasty or mean spirited message. It has everything to do with their personal insecurities, their shortcomings, and their probably unhappy personal lives. Let's be realistic. As the saying goes, hurt people hurt people. Now, I'm not suggesting for one second that when you're on social media and hopefully you don't, but when you experience this mean spirited kind of trolling, I'm not suggesting that you reach out and virtually hug everybody who throws the trash at you. But for your own sanity and your mental health, I recommend highly that you take a deep breath, hit the delete comment button, and let that shit go, because that is exactly what it is. So, in terms of digital marketing, first, I just wanted to kind of put that out there because I know this happens a lot to artists, especially for some reason in other artist spaces. You get artists that come and critique other artists and make mean spirited comments. I just want to make sure that when you are moving around the art world and you are moving around the internet in terms of promoting yourself and being vulnerable, that you're aware that you are not alone if you get any of this mean spirited activity in your comments. So, now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about digital marketing and social media marketing. Now, I like to teach social media marketing and strategy from a holistic standpoint. I can talk endlessly about the various nuances of algorithms and in each individual platform, analytics, trends, all of those things. However, the likelihood is that by the time you are listening to this or watching this, there's a possibility of some change, right? The social media giants could have updated their algorithm. They could have introduced some new fancy feature, or who knows, Facebook could completely disappear. Who knows? Strange things have been happening lately. So in basic terms, nothing is permanent in the world of social media. And the tech giants behind all of these major platforms are consistently moving the goalposts. They're consistently changing the rules. So if you're not crystal clear about the why of social media, then any or all of your future efforts may be in vain. Everything you do on social media should be done with the intention of bringing people off that platform. So off of Facebook, off of Instagram, off LinkedIn. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, but why would I do that? Why do I want to bring people away from social media? Isn't the intention to build a huge follow count and online notoriety? Well, yes and no. I want you to kind of imagine this scenario, if you will. And we had something similar happen a few weeks ago when Instagram and Facebook all completely shut down for about 8 hours. So imagine it's a year from now and you are sitting in your studio doing kind of your regular business on Instagram. You've grown a follower list of, say, 5,000 highly engaged prospects. You're selling, you're interacting, you're living large. Life is good. Then you hop onto Instagram, and you check your messages. And suddenly you realize that you can no longer view your followers. Or maybe worse than that, you no longer have access to your own mailbox, to your direct messages. Now you panic as you realize that you have built the entire last year of your business on Instagram and all of your access is gone without a second thought. Now you'll be sitting there, maybe you're thinking to yourself, what about that collector that I've been chatting with in the DM, or these particular people that I've been nurturing? You might even send the help desk a stern email, but the likelihood is that at that point, it's likely that it's too late, right? That it's too late for you to retrieve the information of your followers, your DMs, etc. The hard truth is that this could very easily happen. Instagram, Facebook, and all of the others are free platforms that have the ability to change their services and their offerings as they see fit. They're not required to alert us, their users, to any upcoming changes to the services that we've become accustomed to or have even taken for granted. In fact, as we see these platforms continue to seek out additional ways to monetize their services, we've seen them just continue to put new ways, new creative ways for ads, folks looking to advertise, new ways for those companies to put their products and services in front of us. As we see that happen more and more, the likelihood is that access to data, such as our follower names and the ability to direct message our followers, may soon come at a price for us. So, how can we get ahead of this? The best thing that we can do is to use social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc., as a tool, right? As a tool to bring people off platform and into our world. So, what is the best way to do that? What's the best way to take those followers and get them into our inbox? Well, the best way is to get them onto an email list or into your inbox as soon as you possibly can. Now, there are some simple ways that you can do that. You can obviously just message people and ask them to give you their email, but not always the most effective way to do this. Unlike followers on social media, once we have people on an email list, that email list can be backed up, it can be saved, and nobody can kind of pull the rug from us like they could if we, with our Instagram followers and our Facebook followers. So whether you are using a lead magnet to bring people onto your email list or simply asking folks to give you their email address, just do it because your future self will thank you. Building an email list can be the most powerful tool in your business. So the other thing I want to talk about is how we move about social media when we're looking to market and build trust and grow our audience and actually sell to people. So I want you to imagine if you were invited to, say, a fancy cocktail party at a big posh swanky hotel, and you know that all of these ideal clients, potential collectors, art world bigwigs are going to be attending that same event. How would you move around that room? What would that experience look like for you? Would you perhaps slide up to a group of total strangers and just yell, "Buy my art," right? Probably not. Right? Would you maybe start talking about your favorite sports team or your kids or perhaps politics or religion? I would imagine you probably wouldn't do that. I'm kind of hoping that you wouldn't do that. Yet so many people do this exact thing in the digital space. The digital space, so anywhere we move around in the quote unquote metaverse, social media, digital marketing, etc., should not be treated any differently than the room at the hotel that's packed full of your ideal clients. Now, I am not at any point here saying that artists shouldn't have fierce opinions or be advocates for change. On the contrary, artists have been the guiding force behind many movements for social and economic change. However, if we're looking to build a robust and sustainable art business, we should lead with professionalism and courtesy. So take time to introduce yourself on social media. Reintroduce yourself. Do it often. Do it at least once every 30 days. And don't worry if you feel like you're repeating yourself. You are, let's be realistic. Not everything on social media needs to be new. And that's where I see a lot of people burn out. As you gain new followers, it's your job to tell them who you are and why and how they can work with you. We talked a lot about that last week when we talked about sales. So don't assume that people know that you even sell your artwork or that you're available for commissions. Tell them again, and make it a regular habit to reintroduce yourself. So let's talk a little bit about brain drain, because social media is essentially designed to keep you on the platform for as long as possible. Why is that? The obvious answer is that so that they can serve you more ads and make more money from paid advertisers. And it's a sad reality, but unfortunately, it's a very true one. Everything from the pretty interfaces that we see on Instagram, they're all kind of created this way. The notification alerts, everything that we hear, see, experience, they're all designed to hit those dopamine receptors and leave us wanting more. And because of this, social media can become a real time suck. I'm as guilty as the next person for spending an unnecessary amount of time on social because it's highly addictive. Let's be realistic. But what I suggest as we start to talk more about some of the changes that are coming with Instagram, we're going to be talking a lot about that next week. And we start to talk about how you can use Instagram as a creative to build your audience, grow a fan base, and actually sell more artwork. I want you to be thinking about spending less, not more time on the platform. And one of the most powerful ways that you can do that is to get ahead of yourself by planning out your content. So planning your content in advance, carving out some time once a month where you plan, say, 30 days of content. If you're really feeling energetic, you could do 90 days of content even. Now, there's a whole host of scheduling software that you can use. I personally use Later. It's a great resource. Tons of possibilities out there. But scheduling your social media in advance means that the only time you really need to spend on the platform is to engage with those that are commenting on your posts and sending you direct inquiries. And that, my friends, is time well spent. So what do you post about? That's kind of another question that I get asked. It's like, well, I'm an artist. I can only post so much artwork. So when you're preparing for anything for social media, ask yourself, is what you're about to do a revenue generating activity? Okay. Is the time that you're about to spend on creating and posting providing value to your target audience? Very specific. If it's not, then you may want to consider spending your time elsewhere. Now, I am not saying that everything that you post on social media has to have an immediate financial goal, but building a community and building trust are a huge part of art world success. So if you're able to check off at least one of the following, you're definitely heading in the right direction when we're talking about what type of content we provide on social. So the first one is education. So are they learning something new about you? Is your audience learning something new about you, the human being, the artist? And then inspiration. Are they delighted or perhaps moved by something that they see or something that you share? Then, of course, there's engagement. Does your post invite a response? Are you asking questions? Are you getting your audience talking to you? Then motivation. Does what you're sharing warrant an action? Is it something that's suggesting that the user, the viewer, actually take an action and have a next step to communicate with you? And finally, and this is the one that we all kind of silently roll our eyes at, and that is entertain, because we know that social media is pushing, especially Instagram, pushing more to being an entertainment-based platform. But think of it this way. Are you creating content that makes your audience want to stick around? That's essentially where we're kind of entertaining. Doesn't mean that you have to start doing TikTok dances. Doesn't mean that you have to start being a performer. But are your audience engaged enough by your content that they want to stick around and see more? That's the question you want to be asking yourself when we think about entertainment. And I always suggest thinking about how you move through social media, how you experience different folks' accounts, the people that you follow. What is it about those particular people that keeps you coming back and keeps you watching their content? And see if you can tap into that and perhaps introduce some of the elements that those particular Instagram accounts or Facebook accounts actually use in their strategy. We can learn a lot from our peers, folks. So there are a few variables that you should aim to be consistent with when sharing on social media. First, you want to set the tone and you want to stick with it. While we're looking at other people for influence, the last thing you want to do is try to emulate somebody in the exact way that they present themselves. So make sure that you're using your own voice. Don't deviate from this. Let people get to know you. Now, by doing this, yes, it is a little vulnerable. We've got to open ourselves up a little bit, but it's going to bolster a strong bond of trust with you and your audience. It's going to build brand identity. It's going to let people know what to expect. Now, you should be kind of become familiar with and not intimidated by, I'm going to use the big word now, analytics, right? I think a lot of us, certainly for me, I am not a math person by any stretch. I definitely a creative brain and not an analytical brain, but analytics need to become kind of your friend at this point. Pay attention to in the analytics, we all have access to, a variety of different statistics within each of the social media platforms. Pay attention to what is working and what is not. Obviously, whatever is working, do more of that style of content. So when we talk about content marketing, content is essentially providing valuable and relevant information to attract and retain your ideal clients. And content marketing can take many forms in addition to just social media. It can be, blog posts. It can be essentially, having a regular scheduled live that you do like this, right? You see me every Wednesday. Perhaps you can pick a day of the week or a time of the day if you want to do something more frequently. Having something that you commit to on a weekly basis so that your audience knows what to expect and when to expect it. You could also perhaps even, have a YouTube show. That's another platform where you have the potential to reach a much broader audience. Or consider starting your own Facebook group where you share each week kind of where you're at, and you have a particularly engaged audience of people that have actually said yes to being in that group. Or you could start a LinkedIn group. There's a ton of possibilities. So essentially, what I do want to leave you with today, folks, is that understanding that social media is still kind of the Wild West, right? There's a lot of things that happen on social media that I don't particularly love. And it is my job, my passion to teach social media, but there's a lot about it that isn't that great. And particularly the trolling that goes on, the negativity that goes on. I want you to, first of all, just recognize that that happens to all of us, and to be aware that most of the time it has, in fact, let's be honest, all of the time, it has nothing to do with you and more to do with the person who is actually hurling the abuse. So don't take that stuff personally. Second is, use and approach social media as a tool, right? Use it to bring people off platform. Use it to get people excited and engaged about you and your work, but essentially bring them away from social media, get them onto an email list. Then, of course, navigating social media with a sense of curiosity, but also recognizing that being on it too frequently is not so great for our mental health. So look into scheduling your social media. As I mentioned, there's a ton of possibilities out there that you can look to actually get ahead of your game and schedule your social media out for 30, 90 days. And then, of course, just setting the tone, using your own voice, making sure that your content is intentional, that you are being thoughtful about what you're putting out there, and that you're building trust with your audience. So that is kind of it for me, folks. If you have questions, do drop them into the comments. Next week, we have something exciting. I'm not going to see you next Wednesday, but next Thursday, we are having a live workshop. It's something we've not done before. Not just a webinar. I will not just be a talking head next week, but we're going to do a live workshop where I'm going to give you some tasks that you can do to optimize your Instagram account. I'm also going to share some selling hacks that I've learned, basically using some of Instagram's tools that have been there for a while, and also some of the new tools that Instagram is bringing to creators. So if you want to get in on that class, it's next Thursday, 11/11 at 2 p.m. And the link to register for that class is right below this video. Or if you're watching this on Instagram, it is in my bio or in the Conception Arts bio right at the top. You do need to register, and there are 500 seats. It is limited because Zoom only allows us up to 500 guests. So grab a seat. It's going to be a lot of fun. As I mentioned, that's Thursday, not work it Wednesday. We're going to skip it next week and go right into that live workshop. I would love to see you there. I would love to help you get better results on social, get the results that you deserve, that you're looking for. And that is it from me, folks. I'm going to jump on over to Instagram and take some questions if anybody has them. Facebook, I will see you guys next Thursday. Don't forget to grab that link. And everybody have a wonderful, wonderful